When you file a claim in district court, you can typically get a trial date anywhere from 3 to 4 months out. Oftentimes it does get postponed, but it tends to be a much faster court than circuit court. On the day of, you show up, it's you, the client, myself, usually the defendant and their attorney, and the judge. Oftentimes there can be witnesses, but typically, more often than not, you can get in and out of trial within a half a day. It's a very fast process. Judge makes decision, no jury, just you, me, defendant, stories, and decision making. So that often, more often than not, is a much faster process in getting your claim resolved than circuit court. The downside, of course, is that there is a limit to the amount of recovery that you can get in district court, which is around $30,000. So depending on the value of your claim and how quickly you need it resolved, it is an option when you're on the cusp there of district court versus circuit court. So when you file a claim in circuit court, it is a longer process than district court. You're looking at a trial date out of 12 to 16 months, a slower court process, meaning it can take 1 to 2 days. There's a jury selection involved, normally a bunch of witnesses. But the real upside to circuit court is when your claim is larger. You're not limited to that damages cap like you are in circuit court. So while the downside is the longer time to get it resolved and the more complex nature of it, meaning depositions, longer trial, jury, if your claim really is in that higher range value, that is really the form that you're going to want to be in to get that resolved. There is no limit to it, so it does get you more money, but it is slower. In circuit court, because of the complex nature and the higher value of the claims, more often than not, there's depositions involved, visits to the defendant's doctors, examinations, intensive discovery exchange, pretrial conferences, sometimes there's court-ordered mediation. There's a lot of other steps to get you there, but again, if the value of your claim is really in that higher range, that's the route you typically want to go. While there are the extra steps in circuit court, they aren't all-consuming. They are additive steps that you need to take, but they do not overwhelm you. A deposition is typically about a half a day. Same with a pretrial conference. Sometimes can go longer, but we are talking about a half a day of your time here and there, maybe a couple hours for extra discovery responses and a doctor visit. It's really not that encumbering, but it is just an additive step as opposed to district court, where you're really just in and out and it's a couple of phone calls to me and a date with the trial judge. And that's really just the big difference, is the timing and the level of involvement that you'll need in preparing for that trial date. Again, in circuit courts, it's different from district court where the judge decides. In circuit court, it will be a process of jurors. You have to select them first. That can take typically an hour to the entire morning on your first day of trial. So you're really not getting into it sometimes until the afternoon. The jury will be pooled from the area that you file your claim in, and then both attorneys will be involved in selecting the final 6 and alternates that get in there to decide your claim. Then after we put up the case and the defense puts on theirs, that's when it goes to those people. They decide it. The judge isn't involved in there. So it's just another process of getting the result. But it can take several hours, or it can be longer afterwards by the end.